Thanks for listening. If you get a second, click that subscribe button, give us a like. Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Really do find that like this time of year, every year, I have to like push myself a little bit harder to do the things that I've done throughout the year already. I don't know why.
Maybe that brain fog.
Yeah.
Well, there's probably the physiological thing issues going on in the chemistry in your brain because you're still trying to digest all that sugar and meat,
But I eat like that
turkey.
So
I can't be that. Yeah, that's funny. But I think, and then there's, I always think about the context of like personality and human beings and what we're wired for. And because imagine you've been grinding all year.
Yeah.
And your body's probably trying to tell you something like, slow the blank down.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. I just feel like this is probably true for a lot of guys our age.
Mhm.
You just feel like you can't do enough. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of times probably if you've been raised around here too, it's like the work thing is like really held in high regard.
Mhm.
And like if you're not working any given moment, you need to be working harder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm learning to come off of that a little bit, but that's definitely something that's been a thing for me.
Do you think that's a personal identity related thing, or is that a cultural norm that we've kind of put on ourselves? I always think about what's motivating that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. But maybe, I guess it could be both, right? Maybe a little bit.
There's definitely a little, because because you're right, it is at a larger scale.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people that have that feeling, whether they listen to it or not, or
Yeah.
because it does produce two fruits, right? I would say some personality types feel that and it shuts them down, isolates them, slows them down. And then I think some people, it just makes them hit the button harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, a little bit of both.
I know, and I always wrestle with, and you know this because you've known me for years, but it's a daily wrestling match of, like God says to be still. And then God also says, don't be lazy.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact verse, but like basically like don't sit around and don't do anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you strike the balance between the two? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be too still.
Well,
You know what I mean?
well, there's the practice. I mean, I think it all depends on the personality. Sometimes you got to think about in your relationship with God, your relationship with your boss, your work, whatever. Because it is interesting because there's always seasons. There's the practice of it in the context on a daily basis. There's the practice of it on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
But then there's practice on the yearly basis. And I guess you're kind of saying like December. Yeah, maybe it is our body trying to say, hey, maybe it's time to rest.
Yeah, maybe so.
Maybe it's time to, do the bare minimum at work, show up, do what you need to do. Laugh,
I hope Michael doesn't listen to that.
Yeah. I shouldn't have said bare minimum. It sounds awful because that does sound like it's a lazy mentality. But I think
I see what you're saying.
Because if you're trying to become a self-aware person where you don't beat yourself up every time you feel like you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
That's a shame cycle that can only leads to poor fruit.
Yeah.
In your life.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
For either you overwork or don't work at all. You withdraw or you overdo it.
Yeah.
And we've seen midlife crisis burnouts of people that live that way.
Yeah.
In our society, in our family, in our community, that's led to addictions, whatever. So therefore you're talking about a real topic that's really a big deal. So how do I become so aware of myself of when I need rest? Because they always say like, because this is where at the end of the day, if you're working to serve others, you have to serve from a place of strength. And therefore you have to take care of yourself to serve from a place of strength.
Yeah.
You can't give what you don't have, basically. So how do I take care of myself So therefore, how do I become aware of what my body's telling me, what my mind is telling me? And is it, do I need a weekend? Do I need a day? Do I need 30 minutes? It's just learning those practices. Because I do think some of us need more than others. I mean, it sounds like Alex Kolish, right? The guy works, 12, 15-hour days.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard he was meeting with players till midnight and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, not to get too much at all in football forever. Who's ever listening?
Let's get back to that.
Yeah. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The negative effects of obsessing over that thought, that feeling, we have seen it time and time again. So therefore, we have to be aware of it, and we have to. And that's when the Bible talks. There's a practice of rest. There's a resting heart posture, but then there's the practice of it. Of like, God, you can do more while I'm asleep than I could ever do in a day's work.
Well, and also too, I think like for me, I think I can fool myself in that I'm getting rest when really I'm watching the news.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's not rest at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting in one spot being still, but man, like that's not rest.
No.
Like truly unplugging is
Right.
a skill that has to be like taught and learned too. I feel like
Yeah.
this is actually what that looks like. It's getting away from your phone. It's getting away from the TV, which is hard for me. And truly being still for a second, in
Yeah.
silence.
Yeah.
That's hard.
That is tough.
Because after 5 minutes, you feel yourself like drawn back. 'Cause we're all addicted to our phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that's not restful at all because you're just getting that dopamine hit and your brain is just firing and it's just dulling everything. And it's like your brain doesn't feel rest at the end of it. That's what, it's interesting. I mean, I want to say it's Arthur Brooks. I heard him talk about a study of happiness. He talks about, and he kind of has his 4 things of what happy people do. But one of the other studies he talked about was what jobs happy people have. And he's seeing obviously we're seeing in a world where because of AI and technology, there's more manual labor jobs are kind of going to be the thing because people in the midst of software being apps, I mean, you just don't need people as much anymore for the digital space. But we still need people to, fix our pipes, fix our AC, dig ditches, and stuff like that. But he's kind of saying there's a lot of people that are, there's a more majority people that are happy on a daily basis that generally have jobs that work with their hands. So I would say another form of rest is, hey, I need to do something like
Go get in the yard or something.
Get in the yards. Because I would say in our modern age, we don't necessarily see our work. We don't see the fruit of our work on a daily basis, especially in sales. I mean, you're in sales.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can put, a month's work into something and nothing. Or there's just someone sizing the dotted line. And it's like, okay, well, I guess the next one. Other than you maybe seeing it change your paycheck, maybe.
Yeah, there's something super satisfying about seeing a yard full of leaves and bagging them, putting it on the street. Something as simple as that.
Chopping wood and seeing that pile stack up, in an organized fashion. You just got into YouTube and bought a bunch of tools and got into woodworking and helped him build a shed at his lake house.
Cool.
Like what?
Yeah.
Stuff like
Yeah.
and you're like, man, I'm exhausted, but that was kind of satisfying.
Right.
I will say one thing never do. I helped him rebuild his dock. that was pretty down. So the water was down. Yeah. And he had to get like approval from power company, and you can only do it during like a certain 2 weeks out of the year, and it was hilarious. But I would recommend. We had to like coat it in this like tar that was giving me a headache every time the fumes were just messing with my brain. Anyway, not to get off the tangent about that. So don't pay somebody to fix your dock. I'll say that. For those on Lake,
I can't do, man. I'm like Carly, my wife, is really good at like. It's kind of embarrassing to admit this, but she's pretty handy.
Yeah.
Like Carly will, she took apart our dryer recently and like fixed it and then put it back together. And yeah, it's unbelievable. And I don't really have the skills or the patience.
Yeah.
It is, I'm pretty good
My
labor.
wife got a dresser when we were putting together the nursery from IKEA.
Yeah.
She did like 90% of it. It's like, no thanks. I do not want to look at that dang instructions.
No.
No, thank you.
Find all the missing pieces. That
Exactly. Yeah. And one that doesn't fit and my meat
Right.
edge is. Yeah. So obviously when I work my hands, it is pretty general stuff like chopping wood, digging ditch, right?
Yeah.
Working in the yard. Something pretty straightforward.
The grass.
Right.
Yeah.
The
I'm with you on that.
meticulous stuff, I'm like, yeah.
The grass.
That's really funny you said that. Yeah.
Like she's like, we've been married 10 years and she's learned like not even to, like she'll be like, hey, can you help me hang this? But it's never like, hey, can you hang this?
You can help.
But he can't.
Yeah. If you want me to do what you want.
Big cuss words and
So what do you think about what's
that was good. I mean, I felt like that was great.
yeah. I mean,
I forgot we were doing it, honestly.
yeah. Because we're getting down to that shame cycle. It is interesting. God did wire all of us differently in how much labor or our work capacity in a sense. I just find that fascinating in a lot of ways.
Fascinating. Yeah. One thing I found, I think you pushed me toward this a few years ago, and it makes perfect sense. Is like that's a great example of, like I feel like guys our age are like trying to strike the balance, like the Christian guys are trying to strike the balance between like where do you work super hard, and then where do you let God work?
Yeah.
It's like, how do I know when to, like we just said, how do I know when to be still and when to act and do things and work hard? Like God put character in you to want to work hard, and
Work is worship.
work is worship. But then there's times where I think like, I know I can, but I can obsess over trying to strike that balance.
Yeah.
And the more and more I've like tried to strike the balance over the years, you screw up every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you already set an expectation for yourself that you're not going to be able to meet, which then makes you kind of angry at yourself.
Yeah.
Or feel the shame like you're talking about. But then also like, I've learned that when you start to feel that way, I should do this more. But that's when you really do need to let go and be like, okay, maybe the point is not to strike this balance perfectly, but maybe God is drawing me to Him to spend time with Him. And let's actually discuss it together because He's relational, And so I think sometimes that kind of tension that you feel and like, trying to do both is really Him saying, hey, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's be in relationship to where instead of you just trying to figure it out all the time,
Well, I think I think Westerners in general, we have a separation of secular and sacred in a sense. And I think that's a lot of what you're like, you're trying to almost like, the word in the Bible is used co-labor. Like there's the word labor, but we co-labor, meaning you bring God into your work and try to understand it, where I think sometimes like, all right, let me grind real hard. And you're trying to go, wait, I should probably stop and go over here and rest with God.
Yeah.
And He's like, well, why don't we just figure this out?
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
And they kind of find that mix in it.
Yeah. How to include Him in work.
Yeah. In like creating it a co-labor.
Yeah.
Like, God, you're with me in the midst of doing this. You give me the skill set. You're guiding me and talking to the right people because you're in sales, engaging the right way. And if left to my own devices, I will probably burn myself too far. So Lord, I give you complete permission
Yeah.
to speak to me in that moment. When I need to pull back, sit in my car, either listen to a podcast, pray, relax, play with my son, whatever.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, he wants to be involved
Mm-hmm.
in all that stuff. I think probably going back to the work type stuff and stuff like being in environments you're used to is like sometimes your boss, like you don't want to bug your boss with too much. There's sometimes there's a lot of value in like, no, I can do it and be independent and have the autonomy to do it. But and so I kind of probably naturally go into my relationship with God with that same sentiment of like, well, I don't know about him too much. But it's not true.
No,
That's not true.
because I'm not saying you're doing this, but there is language to what you're like. There's a using old God as an escape from work. It's like, oh,
They're separate. Like,
yeah, they're separate.
yeah.
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 Yeah. And almost like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. That there's like, I don't want to bug him. That's like where he's an omnipresent being, which if we pick up the Bible, all we do is read about his invitation. The door's wide open.
And it's an exercise every day. And you just have to remind yourself that daily, like, you're not going to wake up one day and finally you got that. Maybe you develop maybe a little bit more, but like it's there's a lot of truth in waking up every single day and spending time with him and trying to get your day in order and so that you can almost have those daily reminders of, no, he's not too busy for me. Like all this stuff that exists in my brain naturally, like sifting through it almost in a way,
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. 'Cause, I don't know if we're getting into this, Bo, but is the context of structuring your day around your relationship with God, is that kind of the discussion we're getting to here? Or is it, because that's what's so weird when I think about structure too, because I think you can be overly religious and
you can.
overly disciplined in that context.
Yeah.
And there's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
There's principles I think we all need in structuring our life and daily, weekly, that all people who say they're followers of Jesus that really need, right? But you could overdo it.
Yeah, you can't. I've certainly overdone it for sure.
Yeah.
But because then when you overdo it, you start, you wake up one day and you don't, like, say your thing is to wake up and read the Bible first or whatever, and then you inevitably miss it one day.
Yeah.
Then you think, well, the whole rest of the day is, not going to be as good. Well, that's not true.
No.
That's not.
Yeah.
I've certainly done that.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, like the best advice people give in the midst of somebody our age and younger trying to figure it all out is like, stop being so hard on yourself. Yeah. It's like, like no matter what you're going through, like just stop trying to beat yourself up. You're not going to be all things, all people. If you had it all figured out, your life would be really boring. God's really great at bringing order out of chaos. And right now you may feel really chaotic. So let's put a couple little tenets in your life of like, hey, I need reminders, little cues. I'm sure you're learning this month or this week from Todd, right? Right.
Yeah.
Of just like, okay, yeah. I may not, like the greatest model of success and like throughout history has been just falling forward, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting. People suffered this morning. It's like, is there high character without difficulty or pain?
I mean,
can people have an easy life and be of high character? Have true character?
I guess it depends on how you define easy life.
Yeah.
Right.
If there's no struggle, if there's no challenge, if there's no frustration, disappointment.
Feels like no, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's all like the old adage, don't ask for patience because then God will give you stuff in your life. Don't test for patience.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, yeah.
No, that's gonna be tough. Like, so my son, he lasts 10 months
Mm-hmm.
on Friday. And I've already like, you don't really think, honestly, you don't really think about parenting. You probably have because your son's older, but like I've never, like people have asked me before, like, is parenting gonna be hard? I'm just like, dude, I haven't even got it. Like we're just trying to like make sure he's fed and has a clean diaper. But when you do think about like parenting, that's gonna be really hard to like let Eli struggle through something.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we know the value in it. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this is gonna hurt. But
Yeah.
there was this one that actually, like a month ago, he had to get blood drawn out of his arm. And it was terrible. So we go in the lab, and the lady's like, hey, Dad, hold him right here. So I had to hold him like this. And then she was like, okay, just hold his head right here and then stretch his arm out. And she gets that big needle and puts it in his arm. And he was so upset. And I guess that's a decent example of like, he had to get his blood drawn so they didn't figure out, why he was sick. But man, he was like screaming, and like looking at me like, what are you doing? Yeah. Dad? And that was the first time it was like, oh gosh, that really, really hurts. Anyway, but like as he gets older, I could see like you're gonna have to really be intentional about like, hey, I'm gonna let him struggle through this instead of because I'm a fixer and a doer. So like instead of fixing it for him or like,
just plow parent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Golly, that tension. Because I imagine as our parents probably dealt with, it's like, how do I be a catalyst to my child's growth, but also a safe place for them to land?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, that's another thing, going back to the whole like rest and work thing. And it's a thing that's you're just going to have to figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
That's where I'm like, oh man,
Tension everywhere.
Her truth is held in tension constantly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the whole, like having character, but without struggle or pain. Right. It's like, I guess we're all trying to hit all of them right now, but you're right, man. Golly. That is something I have thought about, and it's like, don't know how well I'm doing because I had similar experience with my son getting a shot, and I had a whole. I think the worst. You're just like, okay, I know he needs it, but I don't really want to see him suffer. Yeah,
yeah,
and that's when you really kids really jack you up in a good way, where you think about God through some of our hardest times. You're like, okay, you were there. Imagine it wasn't easy for you to see it. Someone who loves us infinitely more than we love our own sons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, that'll mess you out.
That will mess you up.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. The question people love to ask is like, why does God allow bad things to happen to good people? I guess is a good such phrase.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's why.
Yeah.
He's probably not as interested in our comfort as he is in our building our character.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess his dads will have the same approach.
Right.
Have to have that same approach.
Because I've always thought about this, and tell me what you think about this, Bo. What's the difference between us and the animals? I think the animals live in a life cycle of eat, sleep, hunt. Right. It's that mate, just kind of that like the reproduction cycle of just living to the next. We're like humans, we have a redemption arc. Is that what makes us human? I mean, among other things, but is that the central is redemption? Is we're on a story arc of redemption. Like God is using our life and whatever happened, whatever the pain and hurt and loss, whatever that's drawing him closer to him and building, like you said, character over comfort. And it's like, man, and that's where you really have to trust God in the development of your child to go, okay, you know better than I do.
Yeah.
I get to be a part of his story, but you are the center part of his story. Okay, that's gonna be really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was reading a book where another part of the parenting piece is, I guess we're talking about parenting now.
Yeah.
But another part of the parenting piece, one that's like crucial for parents to like acknowledge and almost say out loud, is that Eli was born a sinner.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Eli will have like fleshly desires like we all do. Like he's not perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because my wife will be like, he's perfect. You know, you don't
Yeah.
say anything at the time, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, you know, that's kind of slippery slope. You know what I mean? Like, you don't
100%.
want, I mean, because to us, he seems like he is, but he's not.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, knowing that, and yeah, I guess he'll be a lot better off if he doesn't have two parents. I think he's perfect. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
for sure.
that is a female thing to say.
Yeah.
My wife says the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a strange word to use. But I think it is maybe the motherly lens of my baby.
Yeah.
He's, you know,
They're wired so differently.
that's why that may be a whole nother episode of
Yeah.
Yeah.
A series.
Yeah. Yeah. Which could be an interesting topic because I've been thinking about this, like what makes you a man? And I think sometimes it's hard to define, especially in our day and age, but I think you have to think it, sometimes it helps for me to think in the context of what a boy can do, what a man can do, or what a woman can do, what a man can do. In that, like, oh, a man has a job and works. I was like, well, a boy can work, a woman works.
Yeah.
A man provides. Maybe that's a manly attribute. You know,
Or at least had the desire to, I guess. Like, well, I guess that's not true either.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the thought I need to flesh out a little bit before we start talking about it. But
Yeah.
it is interesting. I'm sitting there thinking about like, what does a man do versus what a boy can do, or a man do versus what a woman can do, right?
Yeah.
And provision beyond just the financial part too.
Yeah.
I mean, provide safety.
Yeah, that's interesting. Really good question.